The case against Robert Tellis, it is underway. Robert Tellis, of course, the former Clark County public administrator on trial for the alleged murder of investigative reporter Jeff Gurman, known for his reporting around Southern Nevada and Las Vegas. A reporter who reported on him and didn't tell such a nice tale. And the allegation is that, Robert didn't like all that very much and maybe sought revenge. Joining me to discuss, Bob Motta, defense attorney, host of the podcast Defense Diaries. We've seen opening statements now, a few of the witnesses thus far, but we're pretty early into this. What's your impressions thus far?
My impression is that I cannot wait for this guy to get on the stand and try to sell what, in my estimation, is the worst frame up job defense theory of all time. I'm not buying any of it. Like I sit there as a defense attorney and I'm feeling bad for the defense attorney that obviously Tellis was never pleading this thing out, no matter what his attorney
Mm-hmm.
recommended that he do. You know, when you've got a client that is insistent on going to trial, you have to do the best that you can with the absolute worst hand in poker, which is a 2-7 off suit. And that's what this lawyer's been dealt. So like he's doing the best he can to try to kind of, sell this concept that he was framed up by the cops. But man, just the amount of evidence that they have that's exceptionally powerful. Uh,
Yeah.
putting him there. I mean, the wound on his finger is like hamburger meat. It's
Yeah.
just destroyed, which is something that happens frequently when you have a homicide that is done by way of a sharp object, a knife, namely.
Yeah.
And oftentimes the perpetrator cuts themselves because they're trying to control the victim with one hand while they're stabbing with the other. And many times, because that victim's thrashing around and trying to
Mm-hmm.
save themselves, you'll nick yourself or cut yourself. So, and then they've obviously got the things that they found at the house, which is the cut up shoes, the cut up sun hat and this distinctive outfit that was worn by the perpetrator, and they find this all in the house. They find the bag that looks to be very much like the bag that the perpetrator is carrying. They have the maroon Denali driving all around Gurman's neighborhood, parked, and you see the perpetrator get out of it, run and check to make sure that the body's not moving, and then run back into that same. It's tough, man. It's tough. Like I said, like I'm anxious to see how this guy, like, and what we've heard is that he's going to testify.
Well, that'll be
So
interesting. That'll be very interesting.
that'll be interesting.
Because judging by his campaign video where he's asking for reelection, he's an idiot. I mean, I'm amazed he was elected the first time. But, a lot of times, public administrators and such, people don't even know who they're voting for. It's just, well,
Exactly.
check the box. And
Exactly.
this is what you get. I mean, honestly, watching that video for asking for reelection is basically a campaign commercial. I could tell then this guy is full of shit. I mean, there's something off about him right there. He couldn't speak genuinely about the office of what he was going to do. He was trying to read a teleprompter and doing a horrible job at
Right.
that. I mean, that in itself was telling it had nothing to do with this murder. It also tells me this guy is a total fucking idiot.
Oh yeah.
I mean, obviously we're not murderers, but we talk about them a lot, and we've seen enough of
Right.
them to know
Right.
maybe don't wear
I
blaze
defended
orange.
them.
Yes, and you defend
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Don't wear blaze orange to the crime scene and walk in public down the street with a giant sun hat that looks more like Raiden from Mortal Kombat than your average individual walking down the road. And what I
Don't drive your wife's SUV to go commit the murder in a
yes,
world in which there's ring cameras and
everywhere.
security surveillance cameras everywhere. Don't do those things. And then when you do, don't leave the evidence in your house, cut up or not, for the police to find when they're able to put together that Denali is belongs to your wife, which only took a very, very short period of time. Don't leave DNA under the victim's fingernails.
That's I just
Yeah.
I can't wrap my mind around how dumb this guy is. I mean, he did like everything you could possibly do wrong. It's like he watched a crime show or he watched Dateline or Listen to Us or something. He went, I'm gonna do the opposite of everything I'm hearing right here. Do
Right.
the opposite of all the good case. Do the exact opposite. In this case, the case against Robert Tellis, what did you make of the evidence that's found in his garage? Have you ever seen this where somebody tries to dispose of evidence by cutting it up? I mean, it looks like he took like a one of those paper choppers, to it that you used to have like in the office, and just
Like a
chopped up
shredder.
part of a shoe.
Yeah.
Yeah, the letter cutter thing. And
Yeah.
it did that, and then it's still there. Like, oh, you chop. It's not a credit card. What on earth is the thought process here on something like this?
Well, it would appear to me that at that point in time that he has the foresight to understand that there's cameras everywhere and that the likelihood is that he can't dispose of this in his garbage, okay, for fear that when they figure out it's him or they're on to him and they go and try to go to the dump and try to find his garbage, eh, by matching up mail and saying, okay, well, this is clearly their garbage. And then they find that shit in there. And it's like he realizes that he's got to dispose of it outside of the house, right? So I think his approach was the Andy Dufresne chipping the wall away, putting small pieces of it in his pocket, and then putting it down his leg of his pants when he was out in the yard type situation. Whereas he's trying to dispose of this piece by piece as he's going about his business on a daily basis. Like that's the only thing that makes sense. Like why destroy it other than to try to dispose of it gradually over time without him being caught on video at a gas station putting a bag that has
Yeah.
evidence of a crime in it, because people get nailed with that kind of evidence all the time where
Hmm.
they'll find them, so they're caught on camera somewhere disposing, like we see it all the time in
Yeah.
crimes. So like for some reason this guy seems to have thought of that, yet just completely shit the bed on every other aspect of this crime, including that, because he was taking so long by the
Yeah.
time, like he had to realize that Jeff Gurman had gotten a piece of him during this knife fight, right? That like in defense of himself, that Gurman must have gotten a scratch in. Like, and I would not put it past Jeff Gurman, who was a ballsy dude. Like, I have a lot of respect
Hmm.
for what he did as an investigative reporter. I mean, he went nose to nose with like straight up mobsters,
Hmm.
Chicago mobsters. I actually went to school with two of the Spilatro kids. I don't know if they were Tony's, but he was going nose to nose with Tony Spilatro out in Vegas
Hmm.
back when the mafia was running the casino game out there. And this guy was fearless, man. So I would not put it past him that he, while in the midst of this guy killing him, was going to solve the crime by just digging his nails into this guy somewhere
Hmm.
in order to leave the evidence that law enforcement would need to track to
Yeah.
him,
Yeah.
which is what happened, man. I mean, like within 5 days, as soon as they rushed it through the lab, and I don't know under what circumstance they had Tellus's DNA in the database,
Hmm.
but they got the match. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something that like is maybe that's a law now. If you're a public official, you have to submit your DNA and
Yeah.
it's going to be in the database. Like I don't know, but they were able to make the connection. As far as I know, they didn't have to use IgG. They got the lab rush job this. They got a profile put together and they ran it through and they got a ding on it and it's Tellus. So
Yeah.
that's when they go on the fifth and the whole thing happens with they're going to raid the house and he's claiming that he's going to kill himself or whatever he's doing, and then they get him out and pull him on a stretcher. So the evidence is smoking gun evidence.
Yeah. I mean,
you
it,
know
it it really is. It seemed he got really paranoid at the end, almost, where wasn't thinking ahead on anything else, but suddenly, oh shit, I gotta chop this stuff up. I mean, again, there's a thousand ways you can dispose of this shit without really getting caught. But he chose again a very bizarre way of doing it all. With the smoking gun evidence, with the DNA underneath the fingernails, when that exists, I mean, is there any other way out of it? I mean, that just seems to be you're pretty much fucked. There's not a lot of
Your goose is cooked,
circumstances.
man. Like that,
Yeah.
right? There's no, there's no transfer DNA argument to be made there.
No.
If it's skin cells under, I mean, like short of finding biological material internally, as if
Yeah.
in a sexual assault type
Hmm.
case where they do a vaginal swab and they find
Yeah.
somebody's semen in there. Like short of that, I don't know that there's better DNA evidence than finding somebody's skin cells under somebody's fingernails that is
Yeah.
deceased. That's pretty powerful. Pretty powerful. There's not many workarounds
Yeah.
from that, like because with trace DNA and transfer DNA, I mean, you can make the argument. You can like we pick up other people's DNA all over the place. If it's
Hmm.
just happens to be on your hand, or they find
Sure.
a hair or something. I mean, like things like that can transfer. Like there could be explanations for that. For this, I
No.
don't know. It's tough.
Yeah. It's really just kind of I know there's no such thing as like an open and shut case, but this seems pretty damn close to it.
Seems pretty open and shut too.
Yeah. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot to argue. It will be
No.
fascinating to watch them, though. That's
I mean, look, dude, like the best part of that trial is going to be watching this guy trying to explain this whack theory,
mhm,
this whack frame up that he's got going on, which is essentially that he's claiming that there was an investigation going on into that office of bribery. They didn't really flesh out who's getting bribed and why law enforcement would give a shit to the extent that they're going to frame him up by somehow like going out buying that same straw hat sombrero looking thing, buying the same cheap Marshalls Nikes, cutting them all up, bring him in the house, somehow getting his DNA and getting it under Gurman's fingernail. It's like the concept of it is just insane, but I can't wait to hear him try to tell the story
it'll
of
be
how it
great.
happened.
It'll be great. That's must see TV right there. Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Be sure to follow us wherever you download podcasts, and especially Apple Podcasts, where you can get advanced episode and premium content on our premium channel right there. Also, be sure to follow us on social media so you don't miss any breaking updates on the stories that matter to you most. We're on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook. Just search Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Brueski, and you'll find us right there. Again, thanks for watching.